I'm Janis Karlsbergs. I'm representing NATO StratCom Center based in Riga. And at the same time, I have my role as citizen, chairing NGO, Latvian Transatlantic Organization. So we're looking for our common values and transatlantic cooperation.
Amazing. Welcome to Moldova and welcome to Moldova Security Forum. The whole day yesterday we discussed about hybrid threats, and one of the main conclusions that we really need a transparent, a proactive and generally speaking a strategic communication to respond to hybrid threats, to respond to this foreign interference and manipulations. And the first question for you will be, do you consider that strategic communication is an efficient instrument to respond to hybrid threats we are all facing?
That's a very good question and theoretical one in a part, because when you analyze how many nations have what we as experts consider strategic communications, basically I have a big question about it. So therefore, yesterday, Latvia was celebrating our 107th anniversary. And if you look at those years back or regaining independence, the question of strategic communication was something really big, something where I could have those similarities for your elections, having recently such a successful elections. Whether you had the strategic communication vision, the first thing you need to have a vision, and then you think how you communicate through different channels and through society. And currently, when we have easy questions, when enemy is in front of us, then our strategic communication and vision reduces to a very limited one. We have enemy. And that's something which typically is much more easier to communicate when you have one very clear message. Even so, we know how difficult and how sometimes complex is to realize who is an enemy. And you have figured it out. Congratulations about this. We did it quite early. We always knew who occupied us and who killed us and sent to Siberia. So we never had a question about it. But that's when you have easy way to communicate. When you look for the nations which had this kind of peace dividend, in particular the last 30 years when we were considering that we are living in the enemy-free world, then strategic communication becomes something very different one. So I would say politicians are losing sense of reality. What they are mostly doing, trying to follow demands of society, more salaries, better Medicare, name it. And we are lost in the world of consumptioners. So therefore, first we need to know where we are going, what really, not on the paper, are our values, and we are ready to fight for it. And, that was the reason I came here, because you are ready here to fight and you create such a great victory. I'm so happy about this. Good news, one good news in this year.
Yes, thank you very much for this appreciation, but we understand very well that we don't need to relax, and we understand one of our vulnerabilities that we need to strengthen our strategic communication inside the country. As for the external audience, for our partners, we have a good image now, and we are very happy that our diplomacy, our president, government work on this. I wanted to ask you, as a practical implementer of this strategic communication, what makes this strategic communication operational? What we need to develop, what we need to concentrate on, your recommendations?
I think in your case, at least impression, again, I can't make a Moldovan expert, so really I'm not. But what I feel and listening, of course, following more or less what happens in Moldova, but not in great detail, that you have achieved a lot. So first, of course, you're absolutely right. And what I heard yesterday by your president, by your deputy prime minister's foreign minister, that you realize that it's only one battle, decisive battle. You won, but not the war.
Yeah.
The same for us. But what I heard as well, in particular by your president, how much this, it could be best word to use whole government approach and whole society approach. But what I felt and according knowledge I know, you really invested very much having this whole government approach, dealing with the problems. And you have a very clear vision. So you have this strategic vision, and all your government, at least this is, and institutions are working to achieve it. And even more, what I feel in conferences like this, where you have civil society around, very active civil society around it, it is essential. So I can speak from my two hats, being NGO myself. That's what you need to do. Then, naturally, in fact, that was mentioned by some of the speakers as well, you have this international environment. You see how many of international actors are around you and help you out, because the fight against enemy which invest at least that's what I heard yesterday. I heard bigger sums, but they invest at least 300 million to destroy your democracy. It's very clear. You can't be alone. And I'm from Latvia. We are a small nation as well. So that was why we had such very clear determination from very early days of regaining independence, being back in the community we were part of before we were occupied, NATO and European Union. And that's still, we face all together a lot of very difficult questions to be answered, but definitely we are not alone. And I think those elements you are doing currently, you are on, at least my feeling is you are on the right path. So I hope it's true.
Thank you very much. You mentioned that strategic communication is, first of all, the important element is the vision. Yesterday, we discussed a lot about the importance of the coordination. This is one of the functions of the strategic communication. What's your opinion about the strategic communication as the mentality, at least for these security topics? So, could be used this strategic communication is to send the main narrative, the unique voice on the security issues to the population, to our partners, where we want to go, how we want to develop and ensure our national security.
If we go to the concept of strategic communications, and according to my academic friends, it is based on values of liberal democracy. So, and everything else is not strategic communication. I want to think which words to be used. And so therefore, when you have really, especially I heard by already mentioned two politicians of your country, so firmly embedded belief in those values, which we as liberal democracies are approving, then it's not only, defense is just a service. Security and defense is service provided by government.
Exactly.
And it is provided by autocratic and dictatorships as well. So therefore, this definitely is not what makes, in this part, us or Moldova unique, only provides those services. Of course, for small nations, it's basically impossible to, in a predator world, which we are now entering, impossible to deliver alone. There's only within union, and I would say alliance as well. Therefore, strategic communication, is something much bigger, which should be based on those values. And like your foreign minister said yesterday, so I probably don't like what the views and policies are on Transnistria side, but the free expression is something we dare, and freedom of speech, which is not based on Russian money, should be observed. And those who are probably against joining European Union, but based on their own beliefs, so that only there is one instrument to convince by discussions and by example. So this is very reassuring that, in my opinion, that your government is so really deeply based on those values.
Totally agree. And the last question, how could we measure the success of strategic communication? People trust, citizens trust, increase the trust in the governmental institutions. What else?
When I think about it, and I initially mentioned that not using the word trust, that we have lost a lot of this general trust of societies. And that's when you go to the nations, how many are taking part in elections. So that's definitely clear measurement, whether people believe in the instrument what provides democracy. That's one. If you speak and think how to approach people, again, this is a question of, the strategic communication, this part, if we share the basic values by different parties. So, and it's, this is a part of liberal democracy. I think this is another measurement of success, that we have more and more society involved. We have non-governmental organizations and people activity in the political process. But, political process is everything where we, society, are involved. Those are small society involvements. Recently in Latvia, we had very, I would say, depictive case that Parliament established 3 years ago, approved, ratified Istanbul Convention, and then apparently for political reasons decided to withdraw. And civil society didn't accept it. And people went out on the streets, loudly protested against it. And here you see many different elements how civil society is alive. So they are not letting just to do for politicians in the meanwhile. You are not in electoral process, whatever they decide. So I would guess that's another measurement when you see on those daily mundane, okay, this is a convention against violence against women and family is not a small issue. We all know that it's
a big problem.
It is a problem. We should not avoid this, but you see so many elements in between. So you see that the narratives used are Russian narratives. And it's very interesting how transnational they are, and different kind of interest groups are using those, which didn't just correspond to the text which is within the convention. And society don't ignore it. They see what is behind it, and sometimes you realize in such situations that society is much more clever than politicians sometimes think about it.
And this is important to keep in mind, that society understands, and you need to be open, transparent. Even now, during the last panel, during the crisis management, the experts during the panel recommended to have a transparent, not to lie to the citizens, especially during the crisis. Just to sum up, strategic communication is, first of all, the tool of promoting our interests, in our case, values, our
interests,
security,
interest.
Our security interest. It's a mentality based on the common vision. It's a way to communicate and a way to coordinate our messages to different target audiences. And it's very important to have democratic institutions sharing the same values, to work together with the civil society, with mass media, and to understand very well the audience we address, the problems they are facing, and exactly what we want to achieve, to have a very clear plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me here.